Hello, and welcome to Real Talk with Rachel. Today I'm taking on RFK Jr. and asking the question, what is so bad about being autistic? You know what I'm really tired of listening to? RFK Jr. wail about autism.
Autism, 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 autism.
His hyperfixation makes me think he might be undiagnosed and dealing with some psychological fallout because he believes it's bad, and a Kennedy can't ever have something bad. RFK Jr. has told the American public that he will find a cause for autism by September, undertaking massive testing and research to identify the cause of what he calls an epidemic. I can tell you the cause of the rise in autism diagnoses, which is not and never will be an epidemic. I'll get to the epidemic part of it in a minute. The cause is better diagnostic criteria, increased awareness, and information we didn't have even a few years ago. Don't worry, I'll break all this down. RFK Jr. claims autism is caused by vaccinations, but there has never been a scientific study that links autism to vaccines. Ever. He's scaring people out of vaccinations, which, by the way, caused a pretty serious outbreak of measles in my home state. They also used to blame autism on cold mothering. Read Temple Grandin's mother's book, A Thorn in My Pocket. There was also a theory for a while in the 1970s and 80s that autism was caused by watching too much television. So let's take a look at the real reasons why so many people today are diagnosed with autism. Here's a brief history. The term autism was first used on paper in 1910 by Eugen Bleuler. Mr. Bleuler used autism to describe schizophrenia. Autistic children at the time were often misdiagnosed as schizophrenic. And even then, autism was not a diagnosis, it was a symptom of schizophrenia. The term autism had likely been used before 1910, but this was the first time it was seen in print, which makes it more formal. Pop quiz. Does this mean autistic people didn't exist before 1910? No. Then came Hans Asperger, who had ties with the Communist Party and was responsible for sending nonverbal autistic children to their deaths, along with other disabled children, during the Nazi effort to clean Germany of its undesirables. Asperger studied children who had different ways of being in the world, along with Leo Kanner, who doesn't have such a sordid past, and who posited that maybe the autistic children weren't actually schizophrenic. No one listened. The term schizophrenic continued to be used to diagnose autism, including in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, until about 1970, when schizophrenia and autism were finally seen as different disorders. Second pop quiz. Does this mean autistic people did not exist before 1970? No. The first time the DSM recognized autism as a formal disorder was 1980. In the years since, we have continued to learn more about autism spectrum disorder, including that it's a spectrum, an idea introduced in 2013, although British psychiatrist Lorna Wing and psychologist Judith Gold referred to it as the autism spectrum in a March 1979 paper. But they were women, and everyone knows what people thought about women scientists then. Do you see the pattern here, though? We're learning more about autism as the years go by. As we learn more about something, we have more information to make diagnoses. Women and girls were not even recognized as being autistic until the 1970s and 80s, and even then it was very rare for a girl to be diagnosed. It wasn't until the 2000s, when there were more specific screening tools that were less focused on masculinized criteria, that they began getting more accurate diagnoses. It's still hard to be diagnosed as a woman. Many women aren't diagnosed until adulthood. Lots of the increase, in fact, is happening in girls and women because we have better testing criteria, and we are finally recognizing it in a whole other half of the population. Does this mean autistic women didn't exist until now? No, I existed. I was not diagnosed as a child. It wasn't until I became an adult that I learned I was autistic. So this is clearly not an epidemic. It's just better science. Now let's consider the terminology RFK Jr. uses when he talks about autism. Epidemic. An epidemic is defined as follows. 1. A widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. 2. A sudden, widespread occurrence of a particular undesirable phenomenon. Maybe you can understand why both of these definitions are intolerable to a person like me who has autism. Add to that intolerance the inflammatory things Kennedy has spouted to reporters.
These are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted.
I have a son who's autistic. He has not destroyed our family. I am autistic. I've paid taxes since I was old enough to work, starting at 15. I've had a job since I was 15. I played volleyball, basketball, softball, ran track and field, practiced kickboxing. I've published 10 books of poetry. I've been married for almost 22 years. I've been using a toilet unassisted since I was 3. I know that there are some of us who aren't able to do those things, but that does not mean we have a disease. We have a brain that fires differently, and we need those different brains, whatever they look like. So I ask, what is so bad about being autistic? I guess when you want every brain to think alike, or when you consider it a means of categorizing someone as less than, you'd see it as bad. You know who else saw it as bad? I've already mentioned them, the Nazis, who eliminated whole populations of people, including those with brain differences like autism. So if we're considering the Nazi tenements as our starting line, not we, but he, then yeah, I guess it makes sense that he sees it as an epidemic that needs the cause found and needs a cure. How does this kind of language make autistic people feel? Well, hopefully it makes us identify the idiocy of people who think like RFK Jr. But I also know that it's hard living in a world that isn't set up for or kind to us. That can also make us feel wrong for just being alive. So this is for all my autistic friends and family and people I haven't even met yet. There is nothing wrong with you or your brain. You are not a disease to be cured. You are a magnificent human being who deserves every good and beautiful thing. Don't let the bastards get you down. I see you, I'm with you, and we are not going away. Stay strong, and see you next time.